Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today guys, it's been a while, but I'm back and I bring with me something new, a little different than normal. I am using some newer sets, some newer stuff, so I hope you guys like this. This is the Chaos Knight. Now, before I get started, as always, this build is not meant for meta play. This is meant for all-around play. It can be used in PvE, PvP, pretty much wherever, and it's really up to the player to decide, like, if they want to use this build or not. This is not something that's locked in stone. It's not a, master all god build or anything. It's just a build that I would suggest using for somebody that wants to have a little fun in the game. So let's go ahead and get started by taking a look, of course, at our character screen. As you can see, it is a Chaos Knight. It is a Dragon Knight tank build. Now, I want to use that word tank loosely here because I don't play tanks the same way as other people. So I do want to say that it is a pretty good tank. It does its job. It can do even the most hard mode difficulties in dungeons. Some trials, I won't say all of them, but some. And it would be really good for, gearing up for real end game if you wanted to. Alright, as you can see, we are an Imperial Dragon Knight, 14 in the health, 50 in the stamina. This is to give us just a little bit more of a berth for our stats. As you can see, we have 17k Magicka, 36k health, 27k stamina. We do have a 931 Magic recovery, 409 health recovery, 568 stam recovery. Weapon damage is coming in at 2096, 1335 spell damage, 24% spell crit, and 37% weapon crit. Our spell resistance 22,916 with physical resist coming in at 22,503. Very good balance there. And then of course the flat bonus of 1320 crit resist. This is for PvP. Moving on to our Mundus Stone, we are using the Lord Mundus Stone to give us a little bit of extra health, which is, I guess, needed if you're wanting to tank. So, we do have Major Prophecy and Major Savagery at all times on both bars, and we are running Tri-Stat Food. This gives you max health, Magicka, and Stamina added to all three stats. Alright, moving on now to our gear. So with all builds, you want a decent gear set up that's going to give you some survivability, some damage potential, and a little bit of uniqueness that plays with the idea of a Chaos Knight. And if you guys don't know what a Chaos Knight is, it's something from Warhammer Fantasy. It is a Knight of the Chaos side, and that they are pretty cool. They're mostly Aura Knights, but since ESO doesn't have that, I had to go with something different. Starting with our monster set, we are using Stone Husk. Now this is from one of the newer dungeons. It's actually quite good. Didn't realize how good, but it is actually quite good. As you can see, the 1-piece adds weapon critical, 2-piece adds to your heavy attacks, tether to enemies within 10 meters for 5 seconds. Enemies touching the tether take 2,439 physical damage every second and gain a stack of Husk Drain, up to 15 stacks. The tether is broken if the enemy moves 12 meters away or from you. Now, this effect can occur every 10 seconds, and when the tether ends, you consume the stacks and gain 30 weapon damage per stack, consumed for 5 seconds. Now, this is really good on werewolf builds normally, but the reason I liked it for this particular build is because of the fact that it does do that tether, and it does add a little bit of damage potential to this tank setup. The next set we are using is a fantastic crafted set. Now, you do have to have the Dark Brotherhood DLC to get this, and that is the Gladiators set, and this one is unique because a lot of people see it as a damage set. I see it as a really great sword and shield tank set for how it works. So 2-piece adds weapon critical, 3-piece weapon critical, 4-piece weapon damage, and then the 5-piece. You gain 1475 weapon damage against targets who are at or below 25% health. It's kind of like an execute set. So any skill that you use that deals weapon damage, or any attack that you deal, light or heavy, will gain that 1475 weapon damage. It's really nice for that purpose with the way tank or sword and shield works. You're going to be using heavy attacks a lot more as a tank, so getting that 1475 weapon damage is a bonus. The other crit stuff is just bonus for damage. Last but not least is our final set, and this is a new set. So this drops in the new Markarth DLC, and this is the Radiant Bastion set. Now, this one is kind of unique because of how it works. A lot of people are going to say you don't really need it, but I like it for what it does. So 2-piece, max health, 3-piece, weapon damage, 4-piece, max health, and then the 5-piece. Deal 10% of all direct damage done to you back to the attacker, up to a maximum of 4,250. So anytime anyone deals damage to you, whether it's an NPC or a player, you will deal damage back to them. And it's non-stop. It is constant. I'll have to show that here in a minute. So, going over traits and enchants. Now, this is my standard setup. You don't have to use this. I like this setup because I like the versatility of it. But you can pretty much use whatever traits you feel comfortable with. But this is what I run. I run 2 invigorating, 1 on the head, 1 on the legs. This gives me a little bit of extra recovery for both magicka and stamina. And then on top of that, I run tri-stats in the big pieces. Now, my chest is reinforced to give me the maximum amount of heavy armor resistance for this one piece. And then on the smaller pieces, I am running Divines. Now, you don't have to run Divines here if you don't want to. If you want a little bit of block cost reduction, I would suggest running that trait instead. That'll save you some resources when you're blocking. Alright, so on the smaller pieces, we are running max health. And then again on the big pieces, we're running Tri-Stat. This is going to give us a good pool of resources, mixed resources on these 3 pieces here. Plus on the smaller pieces here, we're going to get that extra health. For some reason I didn't enchant this. Let me go ahead and do that. My bad. Everyone makes mistakes, guys. Alright, 37k health. That's really good, actually. So, a little bit of extra health there. Now, moving on to the jewelry. We are running 2 Tri-Rune rings here with a infused ring necklace. The 2 Tri-Runes, I do have weapon damage on. Again, you can go with what enchants or traits you want to. I like the Tri-Rune because I like that mix of stats that it gives you across the board. So it gives you that good balance of health, magicka, and stamina that you can use in a really unique way. Now, moving on to the necklace, again, we are using magic recovery on the infused. This just gives us a better mag recovery on the way that this build plays, because we do use some magic abilities, so having that good magic recovery really plays into it well. Running down here to the weapons now, we are using a sword and shield on the front bar. The shield is Tri-Stat with Sturdy, which, like I said, on these upper pieces, you can't, on the smaller pieces up here, you can run Sturdy as well. That's going to give you a little bit more block cost reduction for when you're tanking. It saves you some stamina. Onto the main hand, we are using an infused sword with a weapon damage enchantment. Now, a lot of people are going to say, Sherman, why are you using a weapon damage enchant? Again, I like to play a little differently. You get to choose which enchants you want to use. I like that extra weapon and spell damage that this gives me because it does allow me to push a little bit more of this character's damage, especially when I'm playing PvP, because that's where I mostly I'm spending most of my current time in the game is doing PvP stuff. So, and then last but not least, we have a bow on the back bar, infused Crusher enchant. Now this is going to give you some extra penetration. On your targets, it's going to give you 2,108 for 5 seconds. Now, because it is infused, it will stay up pretty much non-stop, especially with using Arrow Barrage or Endless Hail. Alright, now that that is out of the way and we've seen the gear, let's go ahead and move on to skills. Now, like with all things, all builds, I will tell you this right out the door, make sure you unlock all of your class's passive abilities and weapon passives, armor passives that you're going to need for your build or your character, whatever skills you might be using. Alright, so going over the skills we have on the bar. Now, these are just suggested builds that I would suggest using on a regular basis. Like if you're just playing Overland, you're doing quests, you're doing stuff like that, these are the ones that I would suggest using. Now, you can change it up to fit your playstyle again. Starting with the front bar, we have Ransack. Now, it's a good one for what it does. It does do the major breach. It does do that reduces the spell and physical resistance. It does do a taunt on the enemy, and it deals damage. Now, you also gain minor protection, reducing your damage taken by 5%. Now, a lot of people are going to say 5% really isn't much. It's not. But that 5% can save you when it comes to damage. So, really like the addition of that. Next up, we are using Deep Slash. I prefer Deep Slash over Heroic Slash. A lot of people like Heroic Slash because of the ultimate gen. I like Deep Slash because it applies the reduced movement speed to more than one target. So this one is a really great attack. It's a swing or a sweeping lunge that deals X amount of damage to all enemies in front of you. It reduces their movement speed, and then enemies hit do get minor maim, which reduces their incoming or their outgoing damage by 5% for 12 seconds. So the nice thing about this and the Ransack is you get that minor protection and that minor damage reduction. So that's kind of a nice combo. It helps keep you and your group from taking a lot of damage. Next up, we have Igneous Shield. Now, this is kind of a mixed bag here with this one. In my opinion, it's a great shield for a tank. The shield it gives you your allies isn't so good most of the time, but it can help save some people's lives. So it gives your allies and yourself a 3k or almost 4k shield, and then you gain another 10k shield on top of that. So it's really nice. It does scale off your max health, and then you gain major mending, which increases your healing done by 16% for 3 seconds. Next up, we have Noxious Breath. A lot of people are going to ask why Major Breach, man. This applies Major Breach to multiple targets within a 10-meter cone in front of you for 14 seconds. So you get that Major Breach. It does deal damage over time, but it's primarily here for the breach factor. So when you're playing in PvP, getting a way to apply this to multiple targets, getting them to back away from your group or to keep them on, within your range, is really good. So that extra breach is nice. PvE wise, again, really good for when you're wanting to get through dungeons faster. You can apply that breach to multiple targets, and it helps your groups with damage. Next up, we are running Flames of Oblivion. Again, not something most people run, but I do like it. So this one fires a fireball at 2 enemies every 5 seconds, dealing flame damage. While slotted, you gain Major Prophecy and Savagery, increasing spell and critical crit ratings by an extra 10% pretty much. And then the ability scales off your highest offensive stat. So that's really nice. And then, of course, our last ability we have here is Flawless Dawnbreaker. A lot of people would suggest Banner Standard of Might. This is also a good one. But I like Dawnbreaker because it is a conal AoE damage over time thing, and it also increases your weapon damage, which I know a lot of people are going to say, why you keep increasing your weapon damage? Well, you got to look at the abilities we're running. First, Flames of Oblivion scales off your highest offensive stat, so it's going to scale off your stamina and weapon damage. This is going to scale off your stamina, weapon damage, this and this, of course. And then on your back bar, a lot of the abilities are going to scale up your weapon damage. First ability we have here is Unrelenting Grip. This is a nice grab and pull maneuver for when you're playing PvE or PvP. So it does deal flame damage, so getting that extra spell damage does help. And then hitting the target with, grants major expedition to you, increasing your movement speed. And the target can be pulled to you, and you restore, if the target cannot be pulled to you, you restore 100% of the cost of Magicka, which is nice. The attack cannot be dodged or reflected, which is great for PvP. And in PvE, it's really good because you can just, like, pull in monsters from a distance. Next, we have Arrow Barrage. This deals damage over time. The nice thing about it is it does keep our enchant up for Crusher 100%. Next ability we have is our Green Dragon's Blood. This is our self-heal. Now, this will grant you Major Fortitude and Major Endurance. Sorry, Major Fortitude, Major Endurance, and Major Vitality, or Minor Vitality. So this increases health recovery, stamina recovery, and healing received, which is great. It also heals you for 36% of your missing health. So you can double tap this, or you can just use it once and then rely on your healer. It's really nice. Next, we have our Resistance buff, which is our Hardened Armor. This one basically gives you Major Resolve, which increases spell and physical resistance by 6k for 20 seconds. And then you gain a damage shield that absorbs up to 7k almost damage for 6 seconds. And a portion of this scales off your max health. While active, the armor returns 657 magic damage to enemies that use a direct damage attack against you. So remember, any damage you take, you're going to deal 10% of it back. But now you're going to deal magic damage as well against those direct damage attacks to you in melee. And then, of course, we have our Flames of Oblivion here for that crit chance on the back bar. And then, of course, Warhorn. I like using it in PvP as well as PvE. Comes in really handy because it does boost your max magic and stamina for 30 seconds. But it also gives you that Major Force, increasing critical damage by 20% for 10 seconds. If you don't want to use Aggressive Horn, there is the other one, the Protective Horn, which is also nice in PvP. So, either one. And that is it for our skills, guys. Now we're going to go over a few things here. When I said I'm going to talk about other skills that you can unlock. So, I do like unlocking all class abilities for myself. This takes time. Always unlock what you see on the bars first before you start unlocking everything else. But a lot of this other stuff is more for, like, if I need it in other situations. Same thing applies to Sword and Shield, which, when I say Igneous Shield is really good, Absorb Missile is also just as good for a damage shield. And it's something that you can equip, and it gives you a little bit of extra stuff. So while the shield persists, anytime you take range damage, you do heal yourself. So it's kind of nice. And then, of course, you have Shield Assault and Power Slam as well. And then, of course, your bow, unlock what you can from it. Armor skills, light, medium, and heavy passives. Those are going to be important for your Undaunted, but also for what they do for you, like the medium armor passives. Athletics reduces your dodge roll cost and your sprint, and then you get the extra little bit of crit and the reduced stamina cost in stuff, and the improved stamina recovery. Same thing with light armor. You get the recovery and the reduced cost, and then you get the evocation, which is the you get that, and then with the grace you get the sprint cost reduction, and then spell warding you get the spell resistance increase. It's a very small amount, but it's enough. And then here, of course, you get all the benefits. World skills. Now, because I'm not playing this online, like a real character, like Excavation, Ledgerman, Scrying, I don't worry about those. Soul Magic, I do. Shatter Soul, really great ability for ranged, using in PvE or PvP. Soul Trap is another interesting one. I would go with Consuming Trap here, but as you can see, I have, chosen Soul Trap instead. Always take your passives, again. Very important. Fighters Guild, I do have all the Fighters Guild abilities unlocked, and some of these do come in handy, like Ring of Preservation is a great heal, and minor protection, and minor endurance for your group. Evil Hunter, if you don't want to use Flames of Oblivion, because you're not using a lot of Magicka-based abilities for damage, you're using primary stamina, Evil Hunter will work in its place. Barb Trap, another good one. And then, of course, in the Mages Guild, we do have all these unlocked as well, along with all the passives. And for some of these, I would suggest using, like, Balance, maybe for tanking, because it uses health instead of Magicka or stamina. But it's up to the player. Sigil Order, do have all of them unlocked here as well, and the passives. And then the reason I use some of these, like Precognition, really good in PvP, and sometimes in PvE, Crushing Weapon, if you want to get rid of Ransack for PvP, it's a great damage ability. And also, whenever you have this, you also gain a damage shield for, which is nice, so. You get a damage shield and you get major protection for when the shield's active, or when the ability's active. Kind of nice. Deep Thoughts, great resource return, and then Min Spirit's a nice heal, like that you can use on people. Undaunted, I do have all these unlocked as well. We have a range taunt, we have another shield, we have an orb that we can give out. We have this kind of neat lifesteal thing, and then of course Tangled Webs, which is great for CC. Assault, we do have Warhorn, Vigor, and Caltrops, and then support, Replenishing Barrier, Efficient Purge, and Mystic Guard, along with Magicka Aid. And then, of course, make sure you get your racial passives, and then crafting, alchemy, and provisioning. So in alchemy, medicinal use, provisioning, gourmand, and connoisseur, those just help you keep your potions more effective and your food timers longer. And that is it for the skill stuff, guys. Now we're going to move on to champion points. Champion points, I use kind of just a universal setup. There's a lot of different champion point setups out there that you can use. Nephis has a great guide for this, for CP setups for trials. You can use them for dungeons, which is also nice. But if you're just looking for more of a universal setup, that's where you can use this. So starting with our Steed tree and the Red tree, or the Warrior tree, we have the 56 in the Ironclad. This reduces damage taken from direct damage attacks by 20%. Moving on to the next part, we have 31 in the Thick Skin. This reduces damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%. 43 into Hardy, reducing physical, poison, disease damage by 10%. And 43 into Elemental Defender, reducing Flame Frost, Shock, and magic damage by 10%. One of the things I do want to mention about this is damage reduction. This doesn't work the same as damage resistance. So that's why you'll see this over here. We have 40 points in the Bastion. This increases the effectiveness of your damage shields by 16%. 19 into Quick Recovery, increasing your healing received by 5%. And then 38 into Heavy Armor Focus. Now this increases physical resist by 3250. The DK gets a natural spell resist, so increasing your physical resist kind of balances it out. Moving on to the Green tree, we have 40 into Warlord. This reduces break free cost by 16%. We have 16 into Sprinter, reducing sprint cost by 10%. 16 into Bashing Focus, reducing bash cost by 10%. Now remember, some of the extra bonuses you get from armor passives also apply to these. So the reduced sprint cost, the reduced break free, all that kind of stuff really plays well into those benefits. Now, middle green tree, we have 43 in Arcanus. This gives you 10% health or magic recovery, and then we have 75 in the Tenacity. This gives you increased magicka and stamina return of your fully charged heavy attacks. So if you didn't know, every time you deal a heavy attack, you get resources back. If you're using a stamina-based weapon, like sword, two-handed, bow, all that, your heavy attacks will return 14% extra, but we are wearing heavy armor, so we actually get another 25 on top of it, which is really nice. Moving on to the final green tree, we have 40 into Tumbling. which reduces your dodge roll cost by 16%, and we have 40 into Shadow Ward, reducing your block cost by 16%. If you guys noticed, I only had one sturdy piece, which gives me an extra 4% block cost reduction. I actually get 20% with it because of this, so it's kind of nice. And then Sword and Shield passives as well. Moving on to the final blue tree. We have 43 into Bless. This increases your healing done by 10%. This also applies to your Green Dragon's Blood, which is really good, and any other heals you might use. Moving on to the middle tree, we have 35 into Physical Weapon Expert. This increases the damage of your light and heavy attacks by 20%. And then we have 40 into Mastered Arms. This increases all direct damage you deal by 16%. Moving on over here, we have 56 in the Mighty. This increases your physical poison disease damage done by 12%, 56 into Precise Strikes, increasing your critical damage and critical healing with stamina abilities by 20%, and then 40 into Thaumaturge. This increases your damage done with damage over time effects by 16%. And that is it for the champion point layout, guys. Again, this is what your character will look like if you are an Imperial Dragon Knight. There are other races that play this just as well. The Orc is really good with it. The Nord, Imperial, even High Elf is good with it because they get the extra Magicka and they get the extra spell damage, but not quite as good as something that is based on a stamina race. Redguard's another good one. Wood Elf, Dark Elf, pretty much, yeah. Everything except for, I mean, you know, like people to say the Breton wouldn't be good. It would be good, but only to a small standard. But it can still play the build. Now, as always, I like to show these builds in action a little bit. I would do a parse normally, but instead I think I'm going to go ahead and do my little dungeon run. Now, I like to use a dungeon from a DLC called Depths of Malatar. It's a really good dungeon just for showing you the simple, or the way that the build works. So I'm going to show you this build in action, running through this dungeon. I might die against the boss because I'm not using a lot of different heals, but we'll see. Let's go ahead and get in here. There we go. As always, gonna go ahead and switch bars. I am sprinting. I'm using some resources. Alright, so first encounter, always a good one. Gonna go ahead and buff up, and we're gonna go ahead and throw our Endless Hail or Arrow Barrage in here. Now you notice how I didn't use my chains at all. I'm going to do some heavy attacks here. Alright, he's dead. Okay. See, the other reason why I like it, Arrow Barrage is it covers a very wide range of enemies in the attack. I also like Noxious Breath. It's just really nice when you can do that. Now, I am going to show a little bit of this. So there we go. All done. Now we're going to get to our first boss encounter. And this is where I can really show off its kind of defensive capabilities in a fight against a boss enemy. So you guys can see its survivability. So I did use chains there, if you notice. Mainly just because I wanted to get that out of the way. Going to go ahead and pop the potion here. And this is where I'm going to focus a lot on blocking a little bit more. Going to go ahead and pop Warhorn. You'll notice I am holding block right now while I'm backing away from the enemy. That's the only area I'm really using it. The rest of the time I don't really need to use it. Even in veteran mode, I wouldn't have to use that here, so... And yes, even while blocking, while holding, having a shield up is good, because it does save you in damage, which a lot of people didn't realize that. That's one of the features, underlying features that kind of got lost to a lot of people. I think even the devs didn't know that. Dawnbreaker in. Let's ransack. And please excuse the dog. But that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and let him kill me now. But I just wanted to show you its survivability. It's going to be a little bit harder to kill things with this build in the long run. But that's mainly because of the way the build works. And please excuse the barking in the background. That is my new companion. Who is kind of weird. Alright, we're going to go ahead and wait Shrine out. Go back to the beginning here and do a little bit of closing out of the video. So that is it for the Chaos Knight, guys. I hope you guys like the build. It is a lot of fun, in my opinion, to play a tank like this, because it's a little bit more aggressive than your standard tank. It has a lot to do with more with like being aggressive in the fight, and not so much just standing there holding block, throwing out some debuffs and stuff. In PvP, it's a lot of fun to play this way because it's a very aggressive build. There are some skills I would change out when I play PvP versus PvE. But again, as I always say, builds are just a template. Use them for that purpose. Don't try to play them as is. Find what works best for you as a player and follow that suit instead. But that's pretty much it for this build, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you guys know what's coming next. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more builds by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game. Bye.